Hello, fellow female activists. Today we are talking about mental fitness and specifically regulating your nervous system and how important that is. Hi, if you're new here, Cathy is here, your wellness coach, and we always start these wellness playlist videos with what I know as positive quotient repetitions, PQ reps. So you can be laying down, sitting, standing. You can close your eyes if you wish, you don't have to. But these are really cool and they're going to help us connect our mind to our body again. All right. Because more than likely you're a little stressed out no matter what time you're watching this. Here we go. I will close my eyes. And what you're going to do is you're going to take two fingertips and you're going to rub them with such intention together that you can feel the fingertip ridges. What sensation do you feel? Can you actually feel your fingerprint? Now, take both hands together in prayer style, and rub those fingertips together, as well as all the way down your palm. Feel all those sensations. Do you feel the heat you're creating? Any friction? Can you feel the lines on your palms? Really get curious about what's on the palm of your hand. Are you ticklish like me? Now, let's go ahead and, if you're able, listen to the further sound away from you. And now, listen to the closest sound you can hear. And when you're ready, blink your eyes open if they're closed. Welcome back. So we are talking about mental fitness, okay? And specifically regulating our nervous system. So this is like high priority, very high priority. Why? Because the whole how fascism works is based on shock and awe, flooding the zone, as we have been told, right? And that's by design. That is so that we then become immobilized out of fear. We don't know which way to go, right? Where we're supposed to go fight. And so we don't interact with anything. We don't take forward movement. So regulating your nervous system is absolutely imperative. And self-care is how you do so. So mental fitness is something I'm very, very trained in. But in particular, what you want to understand, at least in this moment, is that regulating your nervous system is a full-time type of situation. Meaning, right, our autonomic nervous system, ANS, right, autonomic nervous system, has two main parts, okay? So you have the sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight or flight, right? It teaches us, am I going to fight? Am I going to run, flee? Am I going to fawn, meaning like, oh, deer in the headlights, right? Or am I going to like just lay down and see what happens, right? That's sympathetic. Okay, so that's your alert system. Then on the opposite side, we have our parasympathetic nervous system. This is our rest or digest. This is, oh, I'm in yoga class and I'm feeling pretty zen. That's the rest and digest. That's your parasympathetic system kicking in. Both systems are required to be alive. Okay, if it was not for your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight, more than likely, you wouldn't be here watching this. We require both. They are also part of our subconscious, so they are actually part of the oldest part of our brain, right? Our subconscious is definitely part of the older, is like, we're talking like cave people, old. This part of our brain, our prefrontal cortex, yeah, where all the logic lies, very new in regards to evolution. And so we as humans run off of 90, pretty much 97% automatic, subconscious. That's not hyperbole, that is science, okay? Whether you believe science or not, whoever is listening. And so we do appreciate how efficient our brains are, but that sometimes can lead us to, unfortunately, bad habits, right? Because our brains only want to keep us alive. Awesome, idea, and it's a wonderful, we definitely want to stay alive, but sometimes it comes at a cost, right? To our own flourishing, to our own betterment, okay? So regulating our nervous system has become so important in these times of fascism. So how do you regulate your nervous system? Well, you can go ahead and get in contact with me and I can show you quite literally how to do so. But in this very quick video, all I want to share with you, okay, is the fact that regulating your nervous system can be as easy as taking a breath when you're upset. So when you are talking somewhere at work and it's a hot topic, guess what? Before you decide to say anything, take a breath. As we did, right? We slowed down, we took some breaths, and then no, wait, that was another video, sorry. But you can literally reset your nervous system in one breath. Why is that? Above all else, this is so cool. Our bodies are marvelous. Above all else, our brain, okay, this noggin, listens to your breath. How beautiful and poetic, right? Why is that? So our different systems in our body, they mostly are automatic, thank goodness, right? Except for one, our respiratory system, our breath. One of the most important functions in our body, quite literally, right, is voluntary in some respects. Our brain can take over and we can start pattern breathing, as it's called. Okay. There's different variations, but basically, it's when we consciously take over our breath. Okay. And that's considered pattern breathing. And in an instant, less than a nanosecond, our brain can say, okay, body take over again. And our respiratory system will take over. There is no thought. Like it literally is instantaneous. But our brain listens to our lungs. Why? Because it's our lungs that will send out signals to the nervous system. Hey, I need more respiration. I need a hell of a lot more oxygen if I'm going to get away from the saber-toothed tiger, or if I'm going to, talk to this person who's pissing me off. Regulating your nervous system means that we don't ever get to that point where we're telling our brain, oh, I need a lot more oxygen because I'm going to take this person out one way or another, right? And I don't mean in the unalive way. I'm just mean like, oh, I'm going to tell this person what I'm thinking. Guess what? You can still tell that person your point of view. And I promise you, when you take it from the point of view of someone who has regulated their nervous system, you're going to get through a lot easier. Now, I'm not talking about the fanatics, okay? No, they're a lost cause, right? I will not touch them. And at the same time, I realize there are people, right, who were part of the 90 million who didn't vote. And so now they're completely like, whoa, like this is chaos. So I always will reach out and say, 90 million, hashtag 90 million who didn't vote. You have two choices now. You leave the US, quite literally. I mean, these are your choices now. You leave, Godspeed, or you fight fascism. Those are your choices now. That's it. And so staying silent didn't work, did it? No. It basically got white supremacy, patriarchy, and misogyny into all three major components of our government, our federal government. And that's why we're in the position we are now. So regulating your nervous system is quite imperative because we are now dealing with basically the federal government turning the sword, so to speak, on its own people. And so regulating your nervous system, though, is a direct way to fight fascism. Why? Because fascism relies on the scare technique, right? It relies on you being powerless through imagined compliance, meaning they want us to comply in advance. And interesting enough, it has been the major players on those pillars. There's different pillars, right, of society. Media is one of them. Corporations, businesses, right? Business, military. Then you have education, and then the government itself. Well, most have fallen to fascism without even being like, they were threatened. That was it. There was no actual action. They were just threatened and they fell. And who is still standing up for what's right? The masses, us. We outnumber them and they know it. And they are so scared. So our main function right now is to have regulated nervous systems so that they cannot scare us into inaction. I have come to the realization that, and yes, all of us have a date on the calendar, right? We all do. But my expiration date might be accelerated because I am willing to fight fascism. And I also know that I am going into this fight with a regulated nervous system as much as possible. Because the 90 million who did not vote, some of those people can be influenced. And I would much rather reach out to someone or let someone come to me and let them experience what a regulated nervous system looks like instead of them seeing someone scary and someone who is in indecision. When we have a regulated nervous system, we're using this part of our brain. Yes, 97% of our actions are automatic. And when I'm using this part of my brain, it means that my parasympathetic nervous system is at work. Why? Because we're in ease and flow. It takes brain power. It takes a lot of glucose to get our brains to work logically. And when we are sage-like, when we are using our systems, okay, bodily systems, and staying regulated, we have more focus. We're able to be more creative, and we are absolutely in action. Okay, so takeaways. Regulating your nervous system, I can help there. Go ahead and connect with me. I'll share with you how we do that. But more importantly, realize you can regulate your nervous system, at least in a moment, by taking a deep breath and then sighing it out. Let us go with that. Let's practice that. Inhale, deeper, and then exhale with the audible sigh. The sigh is universal in all humans. We all know what that means. The sigh, literally to our brain, says, I have had enough and I'm sitting quietly. Like quite literally, the sigh means the lungs have expelled excess, right? Carbon dioxide, and now it's ready to think. What's my next action? And sometimes your next action is listening or stepping away. That's when the nervous system is regulated and it tells the brain, guess what? Your best action will be to step away and let's fight another day. It does not mean that we're giving in. It simply means that we're using our logic to help us in the most creative and most efficient way, right? So regulating your nervous system, it is so important. And how you move about your waking hours totally will develop your response in your regulation, right? A regulated nervous system may sound like it's boring because it doesn't overreact, but what that means is that your nervous system is never hijacked, or I should say, more times than not, you stay in a neutral pattern, which means that you're not hijacked. And so your emotions don't get the better of you, and you can always remain at least mostly impartial. And you can see the different sides, right? And then you can pick, how can I best move this conversation forward, right? So I implore you, get to know how best to regulate your own nervous system. And you might find that not only will you sleep better, you're going to have more energy, and more likely you're going to be more effective in your daily fight against fascism. Okay. Fascism relies on being scared, meaning they want us to be scared all the time. When we have joy, when we experience empathy and love, when we use sage powers versus, again, fear and all those other negative type emotions, that feeds fascism. When we are able to regulate our nervous system, we are using logic, we are using our creativity, and we're absolutely going to be more empathetic and more kind, in such a way that we will get our point across and hopefully bring people to the side of freedom and democracy. So with that, until next time, we'll see ya. Take care, take charge, God bless.